Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. Today, I'm going to put the hydraulic pump back together and put it in my Farmall H. This is known as a lift-all pump. It goes right down here. Also called a belly pump sometimes. This particular H is a 1940. It's 83 years old and still earns its keep every year on the farm doing sickle bar mowing duties. All the clean parts are right behind me here. The lift-all pump was first introduced by International Harvester in 1939. It was the first factory hydraulic pump that they produced, to my knowledge, and it came out first on the H's and the M tractors, and it was rated at a whopping 450 psi, which is plenty of power to lift cultivator and the implements they had back in that day. I'll show you there's a particular piece in this pump that you can swap out to raise the PSI up to 900 or so. This pump had a lot of problems. Number one was it had a badly leaking input shaft seal. So I have a new seal here. We'll put that in. This is a drive gear for the oil pump. Pops through here. And this is a drive coupling, and the seal rides on this surface. I pulled the seal up from where it was before so it'll ride on a better surface. There's a bit of a groove in here. These are the bushings for the driven gear, and the driven gear goes on. This is the pump body. These are the check valve balls. These are the old check valve springs. They were whipped. These are replacements that I got. They go right in here underneath the check balls, and then you have to flip it into place. Springy and springy. Quite a while ago on the channel, I rebuilt the lift-all pump off my Farmall MD, and I talked endlessly about how it works. So I'm not going to explain all that here, but I'll leave a link to that video down below in the video description in case you're rebuilding your own and you want a lot more information. In a nutshell, this is the input tube. Oil gets sucked up into here, gets drawn in to the pump, comes around here, and it's pressurized. The gears are turning. Well, turn you. The gears are turning this way. Oil flows around here and is pressurized out into here, past the check valves, and into the outlets of the whole system. A couple clearances I want to check. The first is the gear to the pump body on the side here, and spec on that is 3 thousandths to 7 thousandths. That's a 7 thousandths feeler gauge, and it just passes, but I have to center this up before I put it together, which means I'll be splitting the difference, so I'm fine there. Next is end clearance, end of gear to pump body, and that's supposed to be 1 thousandths to 5 thousandths. My 5 thousandths gauge passes, so I'm out of spec there. Oh, where are you, number 10? This pump is at 10 thousandths from this plane to the top of the gear plane, 10 thousandths, twice the allowable. Am I going to do anything about it? No, I just use it to lift a sickle bar mower. I just want it to work right. If it doesn't have quite as much flow or pressure as the spec was, I'm not that worried about it. The fix to it would be, if you had a mind to do it, would be to mill this pump body down a touch thinner. On the M's, they came with shims, the later versions of the M's. They came with shims so you could adjust the pump body height, but the H's didn't, at least these early models. Parts for these pumps are getting pretty scarce, I found when I went looking. Scarce means expensive. These release the check valves when you actuate the valve, so this is the top cover of the pump here. We'll oil things up. These release the pressure when they're popped out, and they sit on the check balls down inside. And the whole thing goes together like this. I'm going to line up the other shaft. There. These are the bolts that hold the pump body together. Let's see, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. This one keeps this shaft from climbing out the back side of the pump. Don't snug these down yet. And then on the other side, we have to hook up the outlet. This is the piece that the hydraulic fluid flows through out to the ports outside the tractor to hook up stuff. New gasket for that. Permatex high-tech gasket sealer on both sides of the gasket. And this goes on with bolts coming through the back side. See, boink. Now before I tighten down all of these bolts, I want to make sure I got the body roughly centered so the gears aren't hitting the body inside. The holes in the body where the bolts go through are bigger than the bolts themselves, so you get a little wiggle room to adjust things. I had to put this up on the vise to make it easier to turn. Yeah, I can feel it scraping there. That's good right there. Yeah. I'm torquing these to 55 foot-pounds, just a generic spec for a grade 5 half-inch bolt. There's no torque spec given in the INT. And then I can tear it all back apart because I forgot to put this piston in. These things happen. Where'd my socket go? Oh boy. Yeah, you guys fell out. This is what I forgot, this piston. And this piston goes in this tower right here. And we look for the witness mark right there. That's the way it sits in. Had to lube it up. This piston is what tells the pump to dump pressure when you push on the handle up at the driver's seat. Moves it up and down. Back to where we left off, and the next part is the pressure relief valve. This dumps pressure off of the pump when it gets to its maximum pressure, and the spring in here is what determines the pump's maximum pressure. So if you have a healthy enough pump, it's probably dumping pressure most of the time that it's operational. So this goes together like this. Let me put some Hitran on here. So if you want to increase the pressure of the pump, you put in a longer, heavier spring in here so you get more compression before it releases. And this ball here sets inside onto a seat in here, which I'll plunk it into. There we go. This is the part that went kerflooey when I took the pump apart. There we go. This cap goes on here. And this spring goes in here. Now it's time for the linkages to go on. As you remember, one of the main reasons this went down is this spring broke, this big return spring. And I got a new one. We just got to get it all together here. All the parts got to go in the right spot, of course. It's going to have some tension on it. We'll get in there. There we go. Over here we have the way that this linkage I just put on actuates this valve that dumps pressure over here. And you got to line up the holes. Oh, where'd you go? I don't see ya. You gotta come up. You gotta stay up. There we go. And the pin. Oh, that washer's a little bent. There we go. And then finally, this linkage goes on right here. We'll run it through this way. Tuck that spring up under there. Don't get up under there. These cotter pins are way too long. This is the action you want on this pump. This is the raised position. And then when you want to let things down, it snaps like that and dumps pressure on the pump. This is the reservoir that the pump sits in. This is a bit of a tricky maneuver. This is the linkage that goes out to the hydraulic control on the side of the tractor, and you got to get this lined up. Inside there's a little ear that has to line up with this and seat in. So if I lean it, I ought to be able to catch it here. There we go. And you know what? I forgot something else. Yep. Back apart she comes. I forgot to tighten up this input here. I just threaded it on loose. And the way you do that is you take something to block up the gear down inside the pickup tube, and then you can just tighten this down. Should be easier this time, right? Practice makes perfect. Check tightness this way. You can make a special tool to do this, but I've never bothered. It just doesn't seem to be that difficult to do without it. Now from underneath here we can put the coupling back in that drives the pump off the transmission. The holes lined up here. Put the cotter pins back in. With the clutch back block down, you can spin the shaft around. There. This is the first discharge pipe, pressurized pipe, hookup, whatever you want to call it. And the fill pipe, I use Teflon tape on these. People say never use Teflon tape. I never had a problem with it. I'm just careful to keep it back from the edge. There's two discharge ports on this side, left side, underneath the battery. This is a brand new pair of pliers. I lost 2 pairs of these that I had in various places on the farm. I'm not sure exactly where, so I had to get a new pair. Might as well plug in the sickle bar mower. There we go. Next is the control rod. That's what we want. And finally, we can fill her up. It takes about 6 quarts. I'm using high tran in here. But the original manual called for straight 30 or 20 weight oil. The problem is I couldn't find non-detergent 30 weight anymore, and the detergent stuff would foam too much in the system. So I'm using high tran. This tractor never changes places. It always runs a sickle bar mower. It doesn't exchange hydraulic fluid with any other tractor, so no worries there. Got a new to me vented filler cap to put on. Let's give her a whirl. She's been running a while. Needs new battery. I think this one's been in here for 7 years. I guess I got my money's worth out of that. I disconnect them in the winter. Keep from draining them. Anything leaking down here. That went pretty smoothly. I love this old H. It's one of my favorite tractors to drive, and I'm glad to have it ready to go for next spring. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.